homeless man offers Joker his last dollar. What Joker does next brings everyone to tears. It was a cold night in Gotham, the kind that makes even streetlights look lonely. A homeless man, shivering beneath a torn blanket, saw a stranger sitting across the alley, face pale as chalk, smile painted in blood-red silence. The world called him a monster. But that night, that monster did something no one could ever forget. Because when a homeless man offered the Joker his last dollar, what Joker did next made the entire city stop and question what madness really means. Before we dive into this unforgettable story, a tale of chaos, pain, and unexpected humanity, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell icon, because what you're about to witness is not just another Joker story, it's the truth behind his heart, the side the world was never meant to see. Rain fell like shattered glass that night. Gotham's streets were empty, except for the faint echo of laughter drifting through the alleyways. Not the kind born of joy, but of madness wearing a smile. The city had learned to fear that sound. Yet tonight, it was quieter, almost tired. Joker sat on the edge of a broken fountain, his purple coat drenched, makeup smeared across his face like a dying painting. The man who once brought chaos to an entire city looked empty. His laughter had lost its rhythm. His eyes, usually burning with mischief, now stared into the rain with something that almost looked like regret. From the corner of the street, a shadow moved. A frail man, wrapped in rags, dragging his feet through puddles, clutching a paper cup filled with a few coins and a single crumpled dollar bill. His beard was matted, his fingers trembling from the cold. He stopped when he saw Joker, not out of fear, but curiosity. "Hey, you okay, man?" the homeless man asked softly, his voice cracked and weary. Joker tilted his head, his smile faint but strange. "Do I look okay?" The man chuckled weakly. "You look like me, just with better fashion." For a moment, silence filled the space between them, the kind of silence that hides stories. The man walked closer and sat beside Joker, not caring who he was. "You hungry?" he asked. Joker didn't reply. He just stared at the man's shaking hands as he reached into his cup, pulled out that $1, and pressed it into Joker's palm. "Take it. You look like you need it more than me." Joker blinked, confused. No one had ever given him anything without wanting something in return. Not money, not loyalty, not power. Just kindness. It felt wrong. It felt dangerous. He stared at the man, his grin slowly returning. But this time, it wasn't cruel. It was curious. "Why would you do that?" he asked quietly. The man shrugged. "Because I've lost everything, and I know what it feels like to be invisible." Joker looked at the dollar in his hand. His gloved fingers trembled slightly. "You know," he whispered, "people always see me. They scream, they run, they curse my name, but not one of them ever looked at me." The man smiled. "Well, I see you." Lightning cracked the sky. Joker's laughter broke through the storm, louder and unsettling, but beneath it was something strange, something almost human. He stood up suddenly, staring down at the man like a scientist who'd just discovered something sacred. "What's your name?" "Samuel," the man said, looking up. "Samuel," Joker repeated, as if tasting the word. "Tell me, Samuel, if I could give you one thing in this ugly world, what would it be?" Samuel hesitated, then whispered, "A chance. Just one chance to start over." Joker nodded slowly. Then he leaned close, his voice a dark whisper. "All right, Samuel, let's make a deal. You gave me your last dollar, so I'll give you everything you've lost." Before Samuel could respond, Joker vanished into the night, swallowed by the rain and the echoes of his laughter. The next morning, Gotham woke to chaos, but not the usual kind. News channels buzzed about a fire in the East End, a warehouse burned to the ground. Inside were the bodies of known corrupt politicians, men who had embezzled millions from homeless shelters. Their files, all erased, their accounts drained. But in the ashes, police found a single, unburned dollar bill, folded neatly, with the words written in red lipstick. For Samuel. Samuel, meanwhile, woke up in a clean apartment, his face freshly shaved, clothes laid out neatly, and an envelope waiting on the table. Inside it was a letter. You gave me what no one else did, Samuel. Humanity. I returned the favor in my own special way. Don't waste it. The world only gives you one second chance. J. Samuel sat on the edge of the bed, trembling, his eyes filling with tears. He looked out the window at the sunrise, clutching the letter to his chest. But as he turned on the TV, his hands froze. The news showed a blurred photo, surveillance footage from the alley. Samuel, sitting with Joker. His face was clear, his name scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Police suspect homeless man linked to Joker's latest massacre. Samuel's breath caught. The world that had ignored him his whole life now saw him as a criminal. His second chance had already been poisoned. He dropped the letter. The last line shimmered under the morning light, now smudged with tears. A single sentence written beneath Joker's signature, one Samuel hadn't noticed before. Welcome to my world, Samuel, where good deeds are never pure. For the first time in years, Samuel woke up in a bed that wasn't made of cardboard. The sheets were soft, the room smelled faintly of cologne and new paint, and sunlight streamed through spotless windows. It felt unreal, like someone else's dream. Yet the fear that had slept beside him every night still lingered in his chest. The TV in the corner kept playing the same headline: Homeless man suspected in Joker's massacre. Every channel, every paper, his name, his face. The world that had once stepped over him now couldn't stop staring. He turned off the screen, trembling. Why me? He whispered to the empty room. Why would he do this to me? A soft knock echoed through the apartment. Samuel froze. The knock came again, slower this time. He crept toward the door and pressed his ear against it. Silence. Then, a voice. Calm, almost amused. Open up, Sammy boy. I brought breakfast. Samuel's heart nearly stopped. That voice. It couldn't be. He slowly opened the door, and there he was. Joker. No longer in his tattered coat or smeared makeup. He stood in a crisp suit, green vest gleaming beneath a black overcoat, his smile painted neatly, but his eyes, those eyes still burned with that beautiful, terrifying chaos. He held 2 coffee cups in one hand and a paper bag in the other. You look like hell, Joker said cheerfully, brushing past him and setting the cups on the table. Though technically, I guess I put you there. Samuel stared, his voice breaking. You ruined my life! Joker paused mid-sip and grinned. Ruined? Oh, no. I gave you a life. You were invisible, Sammy. Now look, you're famous. The city finally knows your name. Samuel slammed his fist on the table. They think I'm a murderer! Joker leaned closer, his tone dropping. So? They thought I was a monster long before I ever touched a match. People don't need truth, Samuel. They just need someone to blame. And right now, you're their perfect distraction. Samuel backed away, shaking. You're insane. Joker smiled softly. Probably. But insanity, my dear friend, is just clarity with bad timing. He reached into his coat pocket and tossed a small black envelope onto the table. Inside that little gift is everything you need to clear your name, files, evidence, money, and a choice. Samuel hesitated, staring at the envelope like it was a snake. What choice? Joker's grin widened. You can go to the cops, hand it all over. Beg them to believe you. They'll take the credit. The rich pigs will go back to their castles and you'll go back to the streets. Or, he leaned forward, voice lowering into something almost intimate. You can finish what I started. Burn the rest of them. The ones who left you to rot. Samuel's breath quickened. I'm not like you. Not yet, Joker whispered. But you could be better. See, the city doesn't change with rules. It changes with fear. And you have nothing left to lose. He stood up, adjusting his coat. Think about it, Samuel. You wanted a second chance. Now you have one. Then, with that same eerie calm, Joker walked to the door. But before leaving, he turned back, his face half in shadow. By the way, the police are on their way up. The door clicked shut. Samuel's pulse exploded in his ears. He grabbed the envelope, ripped it open. Inside were photographs, flash drives, documents with names of officials he recognized from the news. All of them had been part of a secret scheme, one that stole millions from the city's homeless aid funds. But there was more. At the bottom of the envelope, a single dollar bill, folded neatly, with the words written in red ink. Round 2. Sirens wailed outside. Samuel's window filled with red and blue flashes. Panic clawed at his chest. He ran to the back door, out into the alley, the rain returning like a curse. He didn't know where he was running, only that Joker had just handed him a new identity, and the war. Hours later, Samuel sat inside an abandoned church, staring at the documents spread across the altar. The rain thundered against the stained glass as he whispered to himself, if what's in these papers is true, these people, they deserve to pay. From the shadows, a faint sound, a laugh, not loud, not maniacal, gentle, almost approving. Joker was there, sitting in the back pew, watching him with those piercing eyes. You see it now, don't you? The truth. They made you a ghost, Samuel. I'm just giving you a body again. Samuel clenched his fists. And if I refuse? Joker shrugged. Then you'll be the hero who died trying to prove his innocence. But if you accept, you'll be the villain who finally made the city bleed for its sins. Thunder cracked above them. The candle flames flickered. Samuel looked at the dollar bill again, then at Joker. Where do I start? He asked quietly. Joker's grin spread slowly. Wide and wicked. That's the spirit. As Joker stood and walked toward the exit, the church doors swung open with a gust of wind. He paused at the threshold, turned his head slightly, and whispered, Remember, Samuel, heroes die quiet, but monsters echo forever. He vanished into the storm. Samuel looked down at the dollar once more. The ink was smudging in the rain, revealing faint letters beneath the red words, barely visible. Don't trust me. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. Gotham looked drowned, a city gasping under its own guilt. Somewhere in its ruins, Samuel moved like a ghost, unseen, unwanted, but no longer afraid. The man who once begged for $1 was now holding the fate of Gotham's elite in his trembling hands. He had changed. Not fully, not like Joker, but something inside him had cracked open. He stopped shaving, his eyes carried a quiet fire, and his smile, though rare, had started to curve the wrong way. For nights, he studied the files Joker had left behind. The evidence was real. Names, dates, stolen funds, all linked to a single network of politicians, businessmen, and police officers. The same men who once promised hope for the poor, the same men who walked past him in the streets. Samuel told himself he'd use the information to expose them, to seek justice, not revenge. But every time he looked at Joker's note, round 2, something darker whispered in his ear. By the 4th night, he made his decision. He would confront them, all of them. At dawn, Samuel walked into the City Hall parking lot wearing a gray hoodie and gloves. In his pocket, a flash drive filled with every file Joker had gathered. But as he reached the steps, a van pulled up. 3 men in suits stepped out, their movements cold and rehearsed. One of them spoke into a radio. Target located. Proceed. Samuel froze. The man smirked. Mr. Samuel, you've been making some dangerous friends. Before Samuel could react, a hand covered his mouth. The world went black. When he woke, he was tied to a chair under a flickering warehouse light. The smell of gasoline filled the air. A familiar voice echoed through the darkness. I told you, Samuel, heroes die quiet. Joker stepped forward, clapping slowly, his smile sharper than ever. But look at you, surviving ambushes, hacking accounts, sneaking into places you shouldn't. You're becoming quite the entertainer. Samuel's voice shook. You set me up. From the start. Joker tilted his head. Oh, don't sound so ungrateful. You wanted a new life. I gave you one. You just didn't read the fine print. Why, Joker? Why me? Joker crouched down, eye level with him. Because I wanted to prove a point. People think monsters like me are born in madness. But no, Samuel, they're made by this city, by hunger, lies, and the sound of 1,000 locked doors. He smiled wider. You were already broken. I just gave your pain a direction. Joker turned to the men in suits who stood silently nearby. You see these fine gentlemen? They're part of the same club that robbed you. I promised them something fun, a chance to watch you beg, but you won't beg, will you, Samuel? Samuel's gaze hardened. No. Joker's grin faltered for just a second. Then he burst out laughing. Good answer. With a flick of his lighter, Joker ignited the gasoline trail circling the floor. Flames erupted around them. The men shouted in panic as the fire closed in. Joker leaned close, whispering over the roar of the blaze. This is your moment, Samuel. Burn it all down, or save yourself. The joke's on you now. Then Joker dropped the lighter and vanished into the smoke. Samuel screamed for help, not for himself, but for the others. His bonds were half burned. He tore free and stumbled toward the exit. But as he reached for the door, he saw one of the men's faces clearly. It was the same councilman who once promised to end homelessness, the same man who had stolen millions. In that instant, the world froze. Justice or revenge? Samuel looked at the flash drive in his hand, then at the spreading fire. Slowly, he stepped back. No more begging, he whispered. The fire roared louder. Outside, a single explosion shattered the quiet morning. Hours later, police found the warehouse reduced to ash. 5 bodies were pulled from the wreckage, among them the councilman and 2 of his men. But there was no sign of Samuel, only a burned dollar bill pinned to a charred chair marked with red ink. The city got its change. Days passed. News reports claimed Joker was behind it all, as always. Some said Samuel had died a hero. Others believed he'd escaped, following in Joker's footsteps. Then one night, Gotham's biggest charity gala was interrupted by a power cut. The lights flickered, and on the massive projector screen appeared a grainy video. Samuel's face, half in shadow. His voice, calm and cold, filled the hall. They built their empire on our hunger, on the backs of the forgotten. Tonight, I return what's owed. The screen glitched. Then bank accounts began draining live on display. Millions disappeared in minutes. Panic erupted. At the end of the video, a familiar laugh echoed, but it wasn't Joker's. It was Samuel's. When the lights came back on, a dollar bill fluttered down from the chandelier, landing at the mayor's feet, scribbled across it in red. For the people you never saw. Somewhere in the city, on a rooftop overlooking the chaos, Joker watched with quiet pride. He lit a cigarette, smiled faintly, and whispered to the night, "See, Samuel? You didn't become me. You became better." A police siren wailed in the distance, swallowed by the storm. Joker looked down at a newspaper headline blowing past his feet. Mysterious vigilante hacker exposes corruption. Joker suspected. He laughed softly, almost sadly, and flicked away his cigarette. Now that's funny. As he turned to leave, the camera of the street corner caught one last glimpse, the empty space beside him. Two shadows walking away, one tall, one limping, and that was the story of a dollar that changed everything. Sometimes it's not money that holds value, it's the kindness behind it. In a city filled with monsters, one act of humanity lit a fire that no one could ever put out. If this story moved you, even for a moment, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next dark and emotional tale.